This is my proposal for community policing. As you all know, I went to Pacelli Catholic, through the Pacelli Catholic school system from kindergarten to 12th grade. Like I said, this is my proposal of having involvement with the increased involvement between local law enforcement and Catholic schools. The reason why public schools have a resource officer and they are available full time and on a regular basis. Catholic schools have little to no involvement when it comes to having law enforcement present for counseling, sporting events, or other school community needs. My goal is to give Catholic school students the resource and support available starting from kindergarten to 12th grade. Public schools have public funding and a resource officer available, obviously, so I think Catholic schools can benefit from having that, or even just having them come in part-time. So part of that is I'm implementing having more officers' involvement when it comes to counseling, fundraising, presentations when it comes to usage of social media and other violence. Also, another reasoning is I've seen officers at sporting events like Spash, Rothschild, Amherst, and Omen, but never at Pacelli. Sometimes those small things do go a long way when it comes to student and law enforcement support. The first person interviewed was Deputy Marielle Yanter of Portage County Sheriff's Office. She worked for St. Albert's in Rothschild and also Polonia Sacred Heart. And then she also does some of the public schools for the cadet safety program. She also does the drug and alcohol program for students as well. The information I got from her was she says she just goes from school to school and just kind of, has interaction with the younger kids and swears them in, which I think is very great. To the third person interview, which is Deputy Eric Coppell of the Portage County Sheriff's Office, he does the same thing where he did before Marielle. He was swearing in the kids, which I thought was really great. It's getting them that little, just a positive reaction and, putting a smile on their face, having them swear in as official Portage County deputy cadets, which I think is great. The second person interviewed was Chief Bob Cuso of Stevens Point Police Department. Obviously, Chief Cuso oversees the community and department, and he takes on many other tasks around the city. Chief Cuso has some past experience with the Pacelli Catholic schools. He's came in one of my years for career fair, and then he's also had his children who did attempt Pacelli with me. But talking to him, the ideas I got were, which goes to my proposal, was introducing counseling for the kids, because I know whether we do have the resources for that. I think having a positive interaction with law enforcement could also help getting to talk to somebody like that when something is wrong, being able to speak directly to somebody, maybe because sometimes people feel safer directly talking to maybe an officer, which I thought would be also great. When I will say, I was told that when we do need a direct officer on scene, I believe, supposedly I was told that we call Officer Kramer from Spash to come into Pacelli, but from my personal experience, I've never had any experience with him. I don't know how true that is, but I'm gonna say it is true. But I think maybe if we had another officer come in and work kind of part-time with Pacelli, I think that would be great. And that's part of also my proposal is having that counseling, having that, van team support, having basically a resource officer, but make it in a reasonable way that the Catholic schools can support it, whether it's through the taxes or funding or somehow, whether it's private funding since it is a Catholic school. That is my what I'm proposing. So when talking to the people around it, it could be a possible idea. But like I said, since we don't have the main public school funding, it wouldn't be a full-time gig. It would just be volunteering. It'd be more they wouldn't get paid to do it, but coming in and interacting with Catholic schools would be volunteering, which I think would be great because in 2 to 3 years, if I become into law enforcement, I'd enjoy wanting to volunteer and help out with the schools, especially Catholic school, since I went to one. And, giving the knowledge, giving the kids access and resources to having an officer on scene, I think would be very beneficial. And like I said, if it is a Catholic school and it's volunteering, it's a cost of $0 unless you want to, give gifts or fundraising or charity or donate to it. But otherwise, it would be a cost of $0 to have that. Having the officer on scene to talk to people, talk about problems that are going on within school, whether it's having a drug search that is being needed, protecting from violence against the school, violence against other kids. Sorry about that. But just having that presence would be great, I think. And like I said, but talking about that, there is ways to go around that for now. I know Chief Cuso is encouraging, or going to be encouraging now, officers to stop at Pacelli football, basketball games, just stopping in the parking lot, to interact with teachers and students, and having them come in to have as guest speakers to talk for internet safety. So I think that's a very great way, a very good thing. Like I said, third person I talked to was Deputy Eric Copel, Portage County Sheriff's Office. Like I said, before Mariel, he was in charge of the cadet program. He also did the stranger danger talk with the kids and the Sit No to Drugs, which I think also is great, starting from a young age, talking to those kids, giving them an idea of what it is. So obviously stranger danger was always a problem. It's always a big thing we used to talk about, which that I think in itself is a very good, for public school and Catholic school, it's a very good, talk, and obviously it is needed, especially, from a law enforcement officer. I think that's great, and Eric does a great job, it seems like, so, yeah. Last person I did interview was Larry Tice up at Pacelli Catholic Schools. He was my principal. He didn't have too much to say in the matter due to him having a busy schedule, supposedly. But he did say law enforcement has no presence within the high school building except for Panacea, which is a fundraising festival, as we all know, week after Labor Day, on school grounds. Otherwise, only other past experience of law enforcement has been from Cuso coming in for maybe the career fair that one or two times, or once a year, or if it's for actual emergency situation, which you think doesn't happen too often, but it can happen here and there. It's still a high school, things still happen, so they're always going to have that need for presence of law enforcement, even when it comes down to a negative way. So, coming back to where I was going, that's my proposal, is having law enforcement officers involved with the Catholic schools. It can be done. It can be done for cheap. Volunteering is always acceptable. Now, yes, I don't know how many, as you talked before, while you're working for Plover, you said that volunteering isn't always the best way, because you can tell people to do it that might not do it. Maybe having incentives, giving them reasons to go would be always great. And I think at Pacelli, you're giving them reasons because you can either teach them about it, you could just have your presence. It's just like you're just working on the job, so with having, extra time to talk to the kids and speak with them, I think there's many beneficial reasons to go and have interaction with the Catholic schools, because they don't get the same amount of interaction as they do with the public schools. And I think there's a bunch of great kids there that do want to learn about law enforcement. They do want to have someone to talk to as a counselor. They do want to have an interaction, a positive interaction with law enforcement officers. And that's my